we know that the needle and seat are at least somewhat decent, enough to like hold a little bit of fuel. Yeah, that's not a gross error of any sort. So, yeah.
We'll put it in and try it out?
Yeah, put it in and try it out. We'll see. So here we are. This is a Lawn Boy DuraForce carburetor setup assembly. This is the thing I hate putting back on. You have a box here. You have a gasket between this box and the carburetor. To get this box on, you have to like rotate it. You have to hook this spring and rotate this box around so the spring is located just like this on the throttle lever, because this is the throttle, all right? And then you got another gasket on this side and a plate. And then you put these screws all the way through all four components like this. So it's one big assembly. And then you gotta shove it down in here with the screws still connected. Oh, sorry, there's a fifth thing. You gotta shove it down in here so that the air vane comes up through the air vane hole. And then you gotta get it lined up with these screws here. Hold everything in place. Make sure your gaskets don't shift. You don't want a gasket going ploopy ploopy. That'd be no good. This is actually much easier on the models that don't have electric start and that don't have a shroud on them. Actually, the shroud is not that bad. The electric start just makes this an absolute pain in the ass. The other one we have that you use, actually, the one you use is an electric start. And I was cussing for like half an hour getting this thing on because it's such an absolute pain in the dick. Alright. So, we're snugging up the bolts just by hand. After these two screws are snugged up, what I like to do is just make sure that the throttle moves freely. So if you've over-torqued these, what will happen is the carburetor body will actually warp and it'll combine the throttle shaft. Right now, we've got plenty of movement on the throttle shaft. It's totally fine. I don't have a torque value for this stuff. I just run it by hand until I can't move it much more with my wrist. I'm not moving with my arm, I'm just moving with my wrist. And basically just my fingers at the wrist, just to see that it's snugged up. It's in there, so throttle here changes the tension down here. So when I have it in low throttle, this has a very little tension on the governor, and full throttle, it has a lot of tension. So it's good. All right. There would be an air filter in here. I also robbed that. This thing has just been a zombie for other machines, so for our purposes tonight. Oh, I forgot one thing. See, this is what happens. I gotta loosen the screws. So this is the fifth part I was talking about. I've forgotten this piece, I don't know how many times. I guess it's not a surprise that I forgot it this time. So I'm just gonna loosen the screws. If you forget this piece, this is what I do. I just loosen the screws, and then I take this. This is basically like an intake duct, is kind of what I would think of it as. It goes down in this hole here. Right down in here. And you gotta get this body to come down below the hole, because there's like a locating pin. Right there's a locating pin that goes in this hole. Like a locating pin. So you gotta get this hole lined to fall in line with that pin. So you gotta drop the carburetor body down. Shove the thing back in there. Like that. Alright, now it's in there. That's how you do it without pulling the whole carburetor back off, because that's just no fun. Okay, and then we tighten the screws back up. Don't over-tighten. That's the main thing. Don't over-tighten it. Most of the carburetor bodies I see are warped because it could be from heat, to be honest, but over-tightening is another thing. Oh. Alright, we've got a big long kill wire over here because I disconnected the kill switch from the system. So we'll be able to shut the engine off with this wire. So that's why this is hanging out here. You won't have that, but I do. If you come up over here, we're going to start working from the top down, put the whole thing back together. All right, we are back on top of the 6.5 horse DuraForce engine. Oh, that's fun. I got to remember before I start this up to snug up the blade because it's loose down there. I've robbed other stuff off of this other than just the carburetor stuff.
Other stuff.
I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. Yeah, so I replaced the ignition coil. That's, again, pretty standard stuff, as we've said before for other things. It's just 2 bolts. You take it off, you put it back on, and you make sure you gap it right. What I use for these to gap them is just a business card. I just shove a business card in between it and the flywheel. Yeah, I mean, it works. So, there's a spec. Yeah, this works. So, put that in there. It's an old business card. So, yeah, we're going to put the shroud back on. It slides over these 2 studs here in the front. And then it snaps, maybe. I gotta get the fall into that bucket there. Ah! Alright, yeah. I think it fell into place. And then you've got 2 washers here to put the shroud back on. And 2 knuts. Here. And then you've got a nut or a bolt on this side. There. Yeah, bogger boy. Hold on. Alright, get out of here. Come on. You're making too much noise. Go. You're making too much. Alright. So let's snug all this stuff up. We've got that guy, we've got, and then we got these dudes, which are not that same size. Where did my 1/2 inch go? There it is. Alright. Now, shroud is on. The recoil, typical DuraForce recoil, has like 8 inches of travel before it decides to pull. The next thing we're going to replace is this stuff over here. Yeah. Oh, we don't have a fuel line either. Oh boy. We've got some fuel lines hooked up now. The main fuel line right here, and the primer line here. And took a chunk of silicone line here. Apparently, I've robbed like way more parts off of this than I remember. New fuel line here, and that's just 1/4 inch rubber, and then this is a silicone line here. This is the fuel tank assembly, so it goes on like this. Make sure this doesn't...
Goodness, that's tiny.
Huh?
It's tiny.
It is tiny. Yeah, they don't use much fuel. This goes there. So, this is too long. I knew that. I just cut it long so that I would have room. This is the main shroud that goes over the top. And what we're going to replace as well is we're going to replace this primer bulb. A very, very common issue on the DuraForce models is that the primer bulb will crack. So what should be in this hole right here is this little bulb. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And sometimes the base will crack too. You'll try to pull off the hose from the bottom barb, and this will snap like at the base right here. So I've ordered a new base and a new bulb. You gotta be careful which bulb you actually order. This is really weird. They make it, depending on who you order it from, they make it out of a different material. This is actually a flexible rubber. Some of them are like a silicone composite. No, I don't even know what they are. They're like a half rubber, half plastic. I don't know what the chemical term is for it, but they're so hard that they don't move when they get cold. The one that I ordered is specifically like it's either a Stens or a Longboy equivalent of the original.
We'll put the link in the description.
Yeah.
So.
They are kind of a pain in the ass to get on, so I'm gonna set it over here on the heater and let it get nice and warm. You gotta like work the bulb into the base, and it's not fun. So I'm gonna let it warm up a little bit, and then I'll set it on top of this dude. And
You have such an attentive audience.
Huh?
Your attentive audience.
Oh, that's a good bulb. What are you doing it?
He's helping.
Alright, helping boys. Alright. So we've got primer bulb. Here's the bulb and the base. You gotta just try to get this to like squeeze over the thing, and I am gonna struggle with it, but I'll get it on there. Alright, it's starting to go. Yeah. Alright, here it goes. So, bookie, bookie, bookie.
Is that
That's
the
how it
noise it
should
makes?
be. Yeah.
Is that the noise it should make?
And then it's got two tangs. They just snap into here. Maybe. There. Like that. So then from the bottom, you put the fuel tank on. You take the primer bulb line here and connect it to this. Now, this is going to be too long, so I'm actually going to have to cut this line and make it the proper length. I'm going to say it's probably somewhere like that. Take it up like this, put it onto, I'm going to hold it from the other side. I'm not using the proper size silicone line here, so it's going to be a little tight. It was tight down at the carburetor too. I'm going to hold the other side of the primer bulb and then shove that onto there. Okay. Doesn't need to be a super tight fit, just enough to push air down through the hole. So then this flips back over. Make sure this freaking cord comes through here. This is why I actually am. It's one of the reasons I'm actually getting rid of this model. It's because it's such a pain to work on this as opposed to like the F-Series engine that's over there. None of it's really that hard. It's just fiddly in a way that I don't think it needs to be. So there's the recoil back up on the thing. We have 3 bolts left here, and then the thing will be back together. And we'll, while we're waiting, we'll let the carburetor fill up. That way we can have instant gratification. Alright, that should be enough. Alright, you may notice that I left out this clip. Your model might have this clip. This is what connects like the fuel line and the primer line together. But I used a different diameter fuel line that won't actually fit through this clip, so I'm leaving it out for now. Did I miss a... I think I missed a washer. I think this washer is supposed to go behind that shroud there. This thing's not going to be a showpiece, it'll just be a worker. It's fine. Nope, that's not right. None of the factory screws still exist. They've either been stripped out or otherwise janked on. Why is this just not fitting the way I want it to fit? Oh, there it is. Alright, so you got three screws holding it down. Two. I must have replaced it. I've owned this thing for so long I've forgotten like most of the stuff I've done to it. Is that tight? Yeah, it seems pretty tight. Okay. So that's on good. I'm gonna put the fuel cap back on. We have a kill wire here that I'm gonna cut, and then I'll be able to turn the engine off remotely by hitting the ground somewhere. I'm gonna say the ground's gonna be up here somewhere, so we'll cut it a little long and just go. Yeah. Strip the end of the wire here so I can get to the engine. Alright, let's see if it runs. What do you think? You want to lick that? Put your tongue on it while it's starting? You want to try? All the cool kids are doing it. Alright, see if it starts.
Oh!
It's gonna go, dude.
It wants to go.
Oh yeah, it's gonna go. She's a runner!
Alright.
Alright. That's the first time that thing started in probably 5 years. So, that's cool. It runs good. Yeah. So, I guess the next thing we're probably going to do is route this wire, this kill wire, a little more...
Sensibly.
Yeah, sensibly. Probably route it up to here and connect it to a switch so that it can actually be turned off somewhat safely, I guess. It's not like this is technically dangerous, but I have a feeling that I don't want to sell it to somebody who's like, oh hey, by the way, you gotta take this wire and then you gotta like, you just touch it to something that's metal and then it'll shut off. It probably won't work, so.
Yeah, that's not safe. Hey.
But hey, it runs again, and it's good. It needed it. It needs to get out of here. So look over here. The Lawn Boy collection doesn't get much love on the channel, but this guy is ready to go for the season. This is going to be the main runner for next season.
That's your guy.
Yep. This is the finish mower. Well, it doesn't look like a finish mower. It's like covered in mud, but it is. This one here is the electric start model that you will actually use occasionally. And this one here
It's the little guy I use.
is the little guy, super light. It's like a toy. It's as light as a toy.
It's not a toy though, because I use him like a brush hog.
Yes.
He's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, he gets
Chop with him.
Yeah, he gets beat all to hell. So we have enough Lawn Boys.
Yeah.
We don't need another one.
So this guy can find another home.
This guy can find another home. It's a really well-running, super tight engine. It just needs somebody who doesn't care about how it looks. It runs great. Gearbox has been serviced. Actually, the gearbox has been replaced in this one. And it's been serviced. It doesn't really need anything at this point. It probably needs a cover over this, but that's cosmetic more than anything else. So, yeah, it's not gonna be of any value to a collector or anything like that, but it will be a really good unit to mow with. So somebody will really enjoy this little machine, and rather than it sitting here, it's back to life and it'll be doing its job again. So,
Yay!
yay! Bye, Margaret.
Say bye. Say thanks for watching.
Yeah, the Margaret boy.
Say thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching, Margaret boy.
Is it? That's good.
Oh.